Hi, this is Jan with Jan's Jewelry Supplies. Welcome to another soldering video. Today we're going to be making this domed rhinestone bracelet. For this project you're going to need some rhinestone chain and a soldering box clasp, some J-board or fluorofoam. I'm using 3 fluorofoams, some masking tape for the fluorofoam, side cutters just to cut your solder wire, and some needle nose pliers just to hold your pieces in place, some Play-Doh or some sort of non-hardening craft clay, some 300-degree solder wire, heat gun, and you will also need a rolling pin. I actually made this bracelet 3 times before I got the measurements correct. The first 2 times I used a rainbow color rhinestone chain. I'm going to show you how easy it is to set the stones. This is 28SS blank rhinestone chain, and you will need your rhinestones and a wax pencil and a 28SS setter. And you will just pick up your rhinestone and set it in the little recess, the little cups. You do need to make sure they're sitting straight, and then you just push down with the setter. I didn't get that one straight, so if your prongs are tilted a little bit, you need to straighten them out. For the most part they should be straight, but you will run into a few that are tilting one way or the other. And make sure your rhinestones are turned face up. You just pick it up, set it in the cup, if I don't get one straight, I just go ahead and set the ones that are straight and then dump the rhinestones out and then do them again. So I'm going to go and that's how easy it is to set the chain. Okay, for your base, you need something that you can make a recess in, and I am using some wet fluorofoam, and I just use the toothpicks to hold them together so that I can tape them together without them moving around. I'm just going to run some tape around them just to keep them a little more stable. And the tape does not want to stick to the fluorofoam, so you'll have to stick to the tape to itself. I'm also going to cut a little notch in the ends because I'm going to make a channel basically running down the center of it. As you can see, I already have a channel in the center one. This was from another project. and this piece was salvageable. So I just want to take the edge of this rolling pin and carve out a channel to match the center channel. I have my channel carved out. I'm just going to smooth it out a little bit, and I need to measure to make sure that the depth is correct. And the depth of this channel is about 1/4 of an inch. And then the width of it is about 1.5 inches. Now that I have that smoothed out, I'm going to roll out some Play-Doh and line it with Play-Doh. And the Play-Doh will just hold my rhinestone chain a little bit better than the floral foam does. Basically, I just use my floral foam as a mold. I have 7 9-inch pieces or 24 stone pieces of rhinestone chain. I'm going to run one down the center, and then I'm going to start adding more chain to the sides, and you want it stretched out when you lay it down. To do this project, you need to measure your wrist, and whatever size your wrist is, you're going to add 3 inches to that. And since I've done this 3 times now, I know it has to be exact. Your curve has to be exact. The measurement of your chain has to be exact. If your curve is a little bit off, you can adjust it at the end if you get it too long, but it's a little harder to fix it if it's too short, but it can be done. At the end, I will show you what I've done to the first 2 bracelets. So I'm just laying down more rhinestones. As I lay them down, I want to make sure they are all of the stones are lined up across the 7 pieces. You're just going to continue laying down the rhinestone chain. I have all of my chain laid out. I just want to smooth it out and make sure they're all even. As you can see, they are pretty even. And I'm going to go ahead and begin soldering. I'm going to use 300-degree solder with a heat gun. And I am going to start in the center and work my way out. Then I'll come back and work the other side. And you want to heat up the piece and then touch it with the solder. You don't want to melt the solder. You want the heated piece to actually melt the solder. While you're doing this, you want to make sure you don't get any solder on the bars of the chain. You are soldering the rhinestones that are in a row. You're soldering those together, but you need the chains to still move for the flexibility for it to go around your wrist. I have soldered all of my row of rhinestones, and I've checked to make sure it's secure. Now I'm just laying down some solder at the very end, in the center of the very end, on each side. And this is where I'll be putting the clasp. And you want to put down a decent amount of solder. I'm going to be using this box clasp. The box portion, you want the open end facing out away from the bracelet, and the groove will go up against the bracelet. There's like some little grooves or notches in these little clasps. I'm just going to set it there, and I'm using a little bit of Play-Doh to stabilize it so it doesn't move on me when I apply the heat. You want to make sure it is securely up against the bracelet. And for the tongue portion of it, there's kind of a lip at the top, which is normally the top. That is going to go down in the Play-Doh. And you want it setting a little ways, maybe even 1/8 of an inch away from the bracelet. It just gives you more room to move it on and off. I'm just applying heat. And you can generally see the solder liquefy underneath the clasp. Just going to apply heat to this end. Okay, I'm just going to remove this from the Play-Doh and clean it up. And it's all cleaned up, and this is the finished piece. It has a nice domed curve. Keep in mind that your measurements do have to be exact on this. So here is the finished piece. This is the last bracelet that I did, and it actually turned out perfect. I had all the measurements perfect. This one, I used logic. My wrist is 6 inches. Add 1 inch to it, it should fit. But I did not take into account that there is a deep curve in it, and that makes it smaller. So I soldered some pieces onto the end, which means it's not flexible at the very ends, but it works. On this last piece, I didn't make the dome very deep, and it made the bracelet a whole lot larger than I had planned, and it actually fit my ankle. So all I had to do on this one was just cut it off and apply the clasp. So learn from my mistakes. Make your measurements exact. I want to see how much difference the spacing would make in the finished product. And this bracelet here, the space is 4 millimeters, and with this one it's 2 millimeter. Also, on this first bracelet I did 7 rows, and this is 28 SS chain. And this one, there were 9 rows, and this is 16 SS chain. The smaller vintage chain with the 2 millimeter spacing ended up being about 3/4 of an inch larger than the other bracelet, so you can probably go with about 2 1/4 inches larger than your wrist for your measurement. That's it for this video. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.